When they arrived at Daisai's fatherland called Mawa, sounds seemed to have vanished from the land. No welcome drum. No birds. Only silence. Dofa slowed his stride as the land beneath them changed texture. From firm earth to powder. From soil to ash. Daisai stepped down first. The ground shifted under his feet, collapsing softly like breath leaving a dying chest. Mawa was gone. Ruined. Broken. Where homes once stood, there were only dunes of pale dust shaped like memories trying to hold form. Roof beams lay scattered like ribs torn from a body. Wooden pillars lay half buried, pointing nowhere, as though the land itself had given up direction. Bones lay everywhere. Human skeletons stretched across the sand, half swallowed, half exposed. Some lay curled as if shielding children who were no longer there. Others lay face down, reaching toward nothing. Daisai stood still. His chest tightened, but no sound came out. This was his fatherland. This was where his bloodline had begun. This was where it ended. He walked forward slowly, each step sinking deeper into the remains of a civilization erased not by war, but by consequence. I don't feel life, Daisai said quietly. Dofo lowered his head. Because none remains here. Daisai swallowed. Not even my master. Dofo did not answer. The silence stretched. Ilori stood beside Daisai, her eyes moving across the land, absorbing the devastation not with shock, but with recognition. Something about this place stirred something old inside her. Then it happened. She gasped. Her hand flew to her chest. Her knees buckled. Ilori! Daisai shouted, rushing toward her. She collapsed into the dust, her body trembling violently, her fingers digging into the sand as though the land itself was pulling memory from her bones. Daisai reached out instinctively. Don't touch her, Dofa said firmly. Daisai froze. What's happening to her? The moment has demanded it, Dofa replied. She is remembering. Ilori's breathing became erratic. Her eyes fluttered open, but they were no longer the same. They did not see Mawa. They saw centuries. Her pupils glowed faintly, reflecting histories not written in books. She screamed, not in pain, but in recognition. Images flooded her mind. Stone halls. Crowded courts. Ink-stained hands. Voices arguing law and mercy beneath the sun of Shaka. She remembered herself standing tall before kings. She remembered crafting laws meant to protect, not to destroy. She remembered Rule 25. She remembered Rule 26. She remembered warning them. She remembered being ignored. Time passed strangely. Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like seasons folding into one another. Daisai stood helpless, watching the woman he loved transform into something ancient, something vast. Dofa stood guard, unmoving, as though time itself had bowed. Finally, slowly, Ilori's trembling ceased. Her breathing steadied. She opened her eyes again. This time, they were calm. Too calm. She stood up without assistance, brushing dust from her robes with a dignity that did not belong to a frightened young woman. This is what became of Mawa, she said, her voice layered with another beneath it. Daisai looked at her. You remember? He asked. I remember enough, she replied. She walked forward, her steps measured, reverent. When you were sentenced to banishment, she continued, turning to Daisai. The king of Mawa tried to resist what was coming. He searched for ways to bind your power. To seal the damage already written into fate. But time had already been wounded. Daisai's heart pounded and he shook his head. No one told me this, he whispered. You were never meant to know, Hilary said gently. Because knowing would have broken you before the word ever could. She looked out across the bones. When you stopped time, even briefly, reality had to compensate. Daisai's breath hitched. What kind of compensation? Her gaze hardened. The cost is destruction. The word settled into the land like ash. Every place where time was forcefully halted accumulated a debt, Hilary said. Daisai staggered backward. You're saying? Monwa was destroyed because of me. Hilary nodded slowly and said. Not because you were cruel, but because power demands balance. Daisai clenched his fists. Why didn't my master tell me? Because he hoped the cause could be delayed, she replied. And because love often chooses silence over truth. Daisai's mind raced and he asked. Did anyone survive? Hilary stood still, staring into the distance. Daisai's voice broke. Then Shaka. He couldn't finish as Hilary's expression shifted suddenly. The ancient weight left her eyes. She blinked and confusion returned. I don't know, she said weakly. The connection faded. The memory retreated. Daisai grabbed her shoulders gently. Wait, tell me, did my master survive? Hilary shook her head slowly and said. I can't see it anymore. Dofa stepped closer and said. There are answers beyond this place, but time does not allow them here. Daisai looked back at the ruins of Monwa one last time. I can't stay, he said. I have to know if Shaka still stands. They did not mourn. There was no time for mourning. Their journey back to Shaka was rushed, frantic, heavy with dread. Dofa ran harder than he ever had. The air screamed as realms tore open and folded behind them. Daisai held onto Hilary tightly, fear tightening his grip. When Shaka finally came into view, Daisai felt his heart shatter. Smoke lingered where homes once stood. The land was scarred, burned, cracked, silent. They descended slowly. There were no soldiers, no elders, no cries, only bodies. The execution ground lay overturned, the guillotine shattered like an insult abandoned too late. Daisai stepped forward numbly. No, he whispered. He walked through the streets. Recognized places. Nothing living. His knees buckled and he fell. His hands pressed against the earth. Is this what I am? He asked brokenly. A curse wearing a man's skin. Dofa stood silently. Hilary knelt beside Daisai. Her hands trembled. Then. It happened again. Energy surged through her. Light paused beneath her skin. She inhaled sharply, and her posture changed. When she spoke, her voice was no longer alone. Stand up, time-bearer. Daisai looked up. I can explain, but only once more, the voice said. Daisai rose slowly and said. Everyone is dead, and this is my fault. No, the voice speaking through Hilary replied calmly. This is justice completing its cycle. Daisai shook his head. There were innocent people here. Yes, the voice said. And they were not left to die. Daisai froze. What do you mean? Before destruction reached Monwa, the voice continued. I instructed your master to take the honest and the innocent away to another land. A place where new foundations could be laid. Daisai's breath caught and he turned sharply. What about honest people in Shaka? I instructed Elder Bambi as well, and he obeyed, the voice said. Daisai's eyes filled with tears. They are alive. Yes. The voice softened. But understand this. The destruction that followed your power was not punishment. It was consequence. Not a curse. But a price, the voice said firmly. Daisai swallowed hard and asked. A price for what? For choosing injustice, she replied. For preserving power over truth. For killing law to protect blood. Daisai looked around at Shaka's remains. The towns that fell did so because they chose wrong, the voice continued. And the people who chose right were removed before the fall. Silence returned slowly. The light faded. Hilary collapsed gently against Daisai's chest. Her breath was shallow. Daisai held her. For a long time, he did not move. Finally, he looked up. So this is it, he asked quietly. Yes, Dofa said, stepping close. Now you choose what kind of time-bearer you will be. Daisai closed his eyes. The symbols on his skin and talisman dimmed and he said. Then let the world remember this. That time does not destroy without reason. That injustice always collects its debt. He looked down at Hilary. And that law will always return. The wind stirred for the first time. Not mournful. Not angry. But clean. And somewhere beyond ruin, life waited. Thanks for watching. Kindly subscribe to discover more of our stories.